welcome to today's webinar, Engage Citizens by Hosting Open Data Events. Our host today is Tom Robbins. Tom is joined by Raina Ferralis, Deputy County Manager, Performance Management, John Reidner, Open Data Liaison, and Jeffrey Liu, Human Resources Technician, all from the County of San Mateo. This webinar is designed to be interactive, and we encourage your questions. Just use the Send to Staff feature in GoToWebinar, and we'll answer as soon as possible. So again, thank you for joining us today, and let's get started. Tom?
Well, thank you, and I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. As we like to do these, what we're going to do today is get into a little bit of a discussion around some of the great work that the folks at San Mateo County have done around their open data program and some of the value that they're starting to see out of it. So let's hop right into it and start with kind of a quick question. How is San Mateo County currently using open data? Can you guys maybe spend a few minutes kind of talking about the value that you're seeing and kind of how you're currently using your open data program?
Sure. So we're currently using our open data portal for three different areas. The first is open performance. So these are our performance dashboards. We use the GovStat product from Socrata, and we use this tool to measure how we're doing towards our Shared Vision 2025 goals, which are community level goals. We're also using it to see how we're doing on our Measure A initiatives. Measure A is a half-cent general sales tax that was passed here in San Mateo County in 2012. And so all the initiatives that have been funded by Measure A, we actually track the progress using GovStat or Open Performance. And then we're also using it to track performance of our departments, so our programs and services here in San Mateo County. We also use it for Open Checkbook. So Open Checkbook is with our controller's office, and we highlight all expenditures over $5,000 out of the county spending. And then lastly, our open data portal. So this is where we have all of our data sets, and it gives context to what the county does in our work, and then it tells our story about what we're using data for to make decisions in the county.
Thanks. We have an active audience. We had our first question come in. Can you explain why you guys are only sharing expenditures over $5,000? What was the reasoning behind that?
Oh, so we did go through a process with our controller's office to be able to just show the majority of the expenditures. So we set a threshold of over $5,000 because most of our spending occurs over the $5,000 level.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. We have what I'm hoping is an active audience, so that's great. And then as we move on a little bit, can you talk a little bit about what Hack San Mateo County is about?
Yeah, this is John Reidner. So Hack-SMC is the county's first public hackathon. We've had an open data program for a while, and I think we're ready to premiere that to the public in a way that we can engage directly with them at an event. It's an opportunity to engage the residents and the vibrant communities here in San Mateo County directly and talk about creating technological solutions to the problems and issues that they face. San Mateo County enjoys hosting a diverse population. We have some of the most wealthy zip codes in the country, but we also have a lot of folks who need services that the county provides and need to be connected to those services in new and innovative ways that help them take advantage of the services that they need to receive. It's also a way to focus getting some solutions from the community around specific issues like affordable housing, homelessness, foster youth who are aging out of the system, and making sure that we're serving our young students by measuring third grade reading scores and concentrating on serving them ages 0 through 8. So we're really looking forward to hosting this first event, engaging the community that way.
Perfect. So I guess the big question is, what inspired you guys to organize a hackathon?
Well, this is Jeffrey Liu talking. the main reason that we wanted to organize this hackathon is really to get the community engaged and get them using our open data portal. You know, we know that there's so many great ideas out in the community, and we want to get our residents more involved in government. And this event really gives citizens the chance to help shape the way the county utilizes data and technology for years to come.
Okay, great. And if we kind of move on, we've got a few questions around this, so I've kind of held them. How did you choose the topics for your hackathon, and how did they integrate with your existing open data portal?
This is Raina. So we have 3 big goals in the county from our Board of Supervisors and our county manager. So the first one is around ending homelessness. So we have over 1,400 homeless individuals and families here in the county, and we wanted to get some ideas around how we can find shelter and help people get housed. The second goal is around reading proficiency. We have 43% of third grade students here in the county that aren't reading at grade level. So that's another big goal that we have, is by 2020, we'll have 80% of our students here reading at third grade level. And then the last goal is around foster youth and making sure that kids in our foster care system actually graduate from high school and also get a couple of years of college. So those 3 big goals are what we selected as topics for the hackathon. And then work that's been done in the past, we had 3 Code for America fellows that were here in the county a couple of years ago, and they created a project that used a lot of the data to help our residents look for things like food and public assistance. So that's another data source that we have that can be used towards the hackathon. And then, so all of the data sets that we have, particularly in the 3 big goal areas and what we've gotten from the Code for America project, are all in the open data portal. And the registrants can use all of that to be able to come up with ideas and applications that we can use.
And someone had asked the question, are these also being tracked back to your performance management site? So are these, how does this relate back to, I guess, what you guys are doing on the performance side?
Absolutely. We have a lot of the data sets are sitting in the open performance site as well. So a lot of the data that can be used. We are tracking a lot of community indicators around housing affordability, around caseloads, around reading scores at every school district in the county. So it all ties together.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and hop into what challenges did you guys encounter and how did you overcome them? This seems to be the biggest question that I know I often hear as we talk to people about creating hackathons. So I'm sure we have a lot of people interested in hearing how you guys approach this.
Yeah, so this is John. One of our biggest challenges is data. Finding appropriate and high quality data that hackers can use to create these solutions. I mean, this is the foundation of what they're trying to do. So for me, it's a great opportunity to make new connections in our Human Services Agency, which has already been a great partner, but to strengthen those connections to get usable data that is appropriate to share around the topic areas into our open data portal. So it's taken a lot of perseverance, but we are implementing our data collection and data quality guidelines that we created earlier in the year to add data quickly. And we've also started a data inventory process that is leveraging data liaisons within each department. So that's helped solidify those connections as well. So it's been a challenge, but having a strict deadline of Saturday has been a great motivator.
And this is Jeff here. And you know, sponsorships was another big challenge that we had. Initially, actually, Socrata was one of our first sponsors, and thank you to Socrata. And the sponsorships didn't come in quickly to begin with. But as we were kind of inspired by the first few sponsorships that we received, and we started reaching out and working with our purchasing team, who have a great knowledge of all of the different tech companies and local businesses around the area. And eventually, the support started coming in, and I think in like 1 week we received near $10,000 worth of sponsors. So, it takes time, but the sponsors do eventually come in. And in terms of, we felt the same way with registration. Registration was slow at the start, and then we started working with our communications team and to reach out to local high schools, community colleges, universities, and we started offering discounts to students and government employees and media. So, yeah.
And as we get closer, I think the registration rate has increased.
Yeah.
Everyone's planning at the last minute.
So a couple of questions that came in did you guys have any issues or best practices around kind of data cleanup and making sure the data was something that was useful for people? I guess they're building, whoever this is also doing a hackathon, and they're trying to make sure that they have the widest range of data sets, kind of the cleanest and most polished. Any kind of best practices you guys might have around that?
Yeah, absolutely. The data quality guidelines that I mentioned is actually a document that our Open Data Committee here in the county created, which are the guidelines for all data that goes into the Open Data Portal. So the idea, the major concepts are the data should be authoritative, it should be true, it should be well documented so that people can use it, whether that's internally or externally. And so it's actually, the document itself is a checklist to aid departments and the data liaisons in adding this data themselves. So it's kind of a self-service checklist that I would be happy to share with anyone who's interested. And so there's that specific guideline for the actual data quality, but then we have a separate document that's about data collection and sort of what data to go after. So, while we have data from the Census Bureau and demographics and education data from the state, we try really hard to concentrate on releasing unique data that the county is the only source for, and folks wouldn't be able to get otherwise if the county didn't release it as open data.
Okay, perfect. And then another question is, was it difficult organizing a hackathon as non-programmers? I mean, were there challenges you guys had, or things that you ran across?
Well, we have a pretty good mixture of people on the team with a lot of different skill sets. So, I mentioned that we worked with our purchasing department to find local vendors for sponsors. We have people who are in our communications team that can help get out the word about our event. And then John is our open data expert, and he knows all about the data. So we have a really, really great team. So, coming from a non-programmer, myself being a non-programmer, I don't think that's really been an issue.
Yeah, the one thing I would add is that we've had a ton of support from Socrata and our customer success representative and the documentation, so that the sort of barrier to entry for a non-programmer is learning how to load data into the Socrata platform, because since every data set has its own unique API endpoint and is well documented, if anyone has a question specifically on how to use a data set, how to query it, how to get that data into their app, I can refer them to that documentation, and they're off and running. I don't hear from them again, so I assume they're getting the help and being successful in that regard.
Okay. A few folks are asking around best practices for getting potential sponsors, things about how did you pitch the event to potential sponsors?
I'm trying to think about how we.
I mean, I think a lot of it is word of mouth, and a lot of it is momentum, right? So we started off with Socrata was our first sponsor, which is much appreciated. And then after we have one or two sponsors on board, it's easier for other companies to see it's a legitimate event. I think that our purchasing department has relationships with people who could get us the contacts, especially for larger companies that already have a community engagement sort of component and are looking to support efforts like this, efforts for government and nonprofits. And so I think a key aspect there is leveraging the contacts that you have at a potential sponsor company to find out the marketing person or the .org person that you can actually make the ask to. And pitching it is pretty simple in terms of being a government entity that wants to engage the community. I haven't run into anyone who said that that's a terrible idea.
Okay. And then we had some questions. So a few folks actually did say, don't worry, registrations pick up as you get closer. So apparently you guys aren't the only one who've actually seen that. But we had a question from some folks around pitching the universities in the area. Have you had any success with that? Is there places you went within the university or best practices you'd recommend?
So in my former life, I was a spatial data librarian at UC Berkeley, so I have a lot of connections to the education community in the area. So besides switching careers, the recommendations I would make is actually go to libraries because they know who to talk to. And there are usually department contacts, so computer science, engineering, social science departments in universities have dedicated staff who are very excited to promote opportunities to students, especially where they can win prize money. Being here in Silicon Valley, very close to UC Berkeley and Stanford, there are no shortage of folks doing computer science and creating the future for programming, and so that's been a huge opportunity. There's also community colleges and high schools. I've done a lot of outreach to high schools and have done presentations of our open data portal to students who set up Android apps right there in class. So that's a natural fit. And again, much like with the sponsorships, especially the high schools and community colleges are really excited to know that this open data resource exists and that you're actively seeking participation from students.
And to add on to John's point, through HR we actually have a lot of pre-existing relationships with a lot of different local universities, colleges, high schools, a lot of their career services centers. So we were able to pump out a lot of promotion through the career service guidance counselors and a lot of their tech clubs and whatever they have on their campuses.
And I think what we take for granted sometimes is where we are. San Mateo County is on the peninsula in the Bay Area. We sit right in between San Francisco and Santa Clara County, so we have a lot of tech talent here and universities that are growing talent for the companies in the area. So I think that's another reason we got really fortunate around sponsorships and participation in the hackathon.
Okay. We actually had an attendee ask a question. Let's see. What will participants deliver at the end of the hackathon? I think you had talked a little bit about prizes. Maybe it might be good to talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think that gets into actually our next slide. So it's good.
We will move on then. There you go. What are your goals? I thought I had heard that question before. So what are your goals, and how are you going to measure your success? Yeah. See, I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's perfect. It's great. So, what are the deliverables for the hackathon? I think much more than a completed application or website or something that the county could install on Monday and get up and running the week after that. What we're looking for are ideas and unique solutions to the big problems that we're facing. So, and the small problems. So, the folks who live in San Mateo County have a much different perspective on what the issues are that they're facing in their daily lives and the way to solve those. And so the ideas are actually what we're after, whether that comes in the form of a half-coded Android app or a bunch of interface pictures drawn on pieces of paper. I think what the judges are looking for are unique and useful ways to approach these problems that the community has come up with. So in terms of a deliverable, I think the ideas are really what we're after.
Although it would be great to get like apps that can help our foster youth and people looking for housing, and some things that will make it easier for regular, average residents to find the services that they need to be able to live and thrive here in San Mateo County.
And then, we got a couple of questions around who are the judges that you guys are using?
That's a good question.
So we have a mix of judges. We have two from the county. So Ileana Rodriguez is the head of the Human Services Agency here, and Bill Lowell is the head of the Housing Department for San Mateo County. We also have Chris Kasanovitz, who's the government documents librarian at Stanford University, and our final judge is Joe Falcone, who's a app developer from Half Moon Bay, which is on the coast side of San Mateo County. And Esri is another sponsor, and they are they will judge their own prize, which is for the best use of their Esri platform in the application. So we have a good mix of folks from the county and folks from the community. Okay.
And then we got a question around this was part of your Agile Organization Initiative, and you guys are working lean and fast is what you're saying here. Some folks are interested in understanding what that initiative is, and maybe you could spend a few minutes talking about it.
So this is Jeff again. Our Agile initiative is, we started it in 2013, and it was approved by the board, and it's basically we're trying to find a way to rethink how we deliver work and services to our San Mateo County residents. And one of those ways is through options like civic engagement events like our hackathon. So, I touched on this earlier, but, there's so many great ideas out there, and we really want to harness all of those great ideas and all the creativity that San Mateo County has to offer and really get citizens engaged with government.
Right, and to add to that, so we offer a lot of services through the county, and we do that through permanent staff, through contractors, but we can also do that through volunteer work. So definitely the event on the hackathon, we have people that will be there helping us using their time and talent. And then also self-help, right? So if they develop something that can be used by our residents to access county services without the help of a county staff person, then we're also delivering services that way, but really enabling people to do it on their own.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's move on. So we talked a little bit about this. So what's been the response so far around what you guys are doing on this?
Oh, that's good. We're getting a little feedback here. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can.
Okay, great. Well, there's been a lot of response, just a strong response internally, externally. When we first started this, this endeavor, we had a lot of support from our human resources director, our information services director, and county manager's office, and each one of those departments have been just a great amount of support. And then we got a lot of different sponsors, and I mentioned that we started out kind of slow in getting the sponsors on board, but now we have 17 different sponsors who are either donating in cash or in-kind sponsorship, and then the community has responded as well. We've gotten a lot of interest from students, from tech people from all over, and media, and we've had government employees from all different counties come and register for our event. So we're really excited at the amount of interest that we've been able to.
And we're up to what, 50?
60.
60. So we have 60 people registered to participate in the hackathon, and we've got some really great sponsors. So including, in addition to Socrata and Esri, we've also got, you guys want to help me read some of these things? Nutanix, Proterra, which is a local company, Rocket Fuel, Granicus, Office Depot, HP.
Microsoft, Amazon Web Services. I mean, the list goes on. It's pretty remarkable how much support we've gotten.
And don't forget HackerRank.
HackerRank too.
So yeah, the response has been great so far. So we're really looking forward to the event this Saturday.
Okay, great. All right. And then I think the next question is, do you have any tips for local governments who want to start their own hackathon?
Absolutely. I think one of the most important things to do, especially if we're operating in the open data space, is to use the resources that are available to you. Our colleagues at Alameda County have published a white paper that I can't recommend highly enough. If someone asked if we were going to publish a white paper, I would probably say no. We would just republish Alameda County's and maybe create an appendix about our experience. But there are, Socrata provides hackathon guides. There are numerous hackathon guides for the commercial space for companies, which have some different areas of emphasis than a government hackathon, but are still valuable. But I guess don't be afraid to copy exactly what someone else has done, because that's what we're doing, and no one has attended your event yet if you're doing it for the first time. So
right, and we're really grateful to Alameda County because they've done a number of community hackathons, and they've also done internal hackathons with their employees. So they've got a number of these under their belts and have been very helpful to us.
And then our next, well, were you going to say something, or?
Nope, go right ahead.
Yeah, our next tip is let the sponsors shape their contributions. Some sponsors may want to donate food to the event. I mean, food's a great thing. We actually have one of our sponsors donating a lot of office supplies that we're able to use. For the day of, like flip charts, whiteboards, markers, pens, and stuff like that. So help letting them kind of choose what kind of donation they'd like to give is really beneficial.
Yeah, and I think another important thing, programmatically, and something that you can do, should do well in advance of planning any logistics or going after any sponsors, is to really pick a theme, or be as specific as possible in terms of the type of solutions that you would like to see. So that was easy for us, since we have these areas of emphasis that came out right. The timing worked out really well, so that was a natural fit. But the theme or the areas that you're looking for solutions around really guides your data collection and publishing as well. So it would be really nice if we could just say, we're hosting a hackathon on foster youth. Come create a solution for us, without having any data to support that. it's all pretty abstract. So deciding on a theme and I think making it small and manageable is really important too, because of course it would be nice if there was a solution that solved all the problems, but I don't know that that exists or it will be created in a hackathon context.
Mm-hmm. And most of all, have fun. I mean, this event is supposed to be fun. We've had a great time putting this event together, and we really hope that all the participants have a great time. Remember that the solutions and the applications that are created are only one of the outcomes. And I mean, the event gives you the opportunity to really connect with all the participants and get them interested in working with you in the future, or even working for the county in the future.
Yeah, come work for San Mateo County. And I do think that what makes this a great place to work is we like to try new things and different things, even though it gets us out of our comfort zone. So, this is like really exciting, but nerve-wracking at the same time, especially, like Jeffrey and John said, when the sponsorships weren't coming and the registrations were still really low. So you kind of put together this party and not sure if someone's going to come. So there's that part of it. But yeah, just the experience of doing something new and different is really exciting for us.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to ask any attendees who have some additional questions, please go ahead and send them in. I know that we've got kind of two questions kind of outstanding. One is, did you guys incur any unexpected costs that someone who's thinking about doing one of these, kind of a lesson learned that maybe you would recommend they think about?
Other than staff time to just put it together. I mean, we essentially got enough sponsorships.
Yeah. I mean, we had enough sponsorships to be able to pay for the entire event. So we were really fortunate, and we made sure to plan out a budget way in advance with food, supplies, any sort of technical support that we're going to need. And we had to buy a couple of things like a couple tables and a couple AV connectors, but for the most part, we were able to stay within our budget. There weren't really any unexpected expenditures that we had.
Okay. We're using a county facility for the event, so that would be a potential expense that we haven't had so far.
Okay. All right. And then another question is, kind of lessons learned. Now that you guys, are almost done, things that you would do differently or different approaches you would take.
They're deep in thought.
Yeah.
It's kind of the hindsight is 20/20 question, right?
It's an interesting perspective to go for hindsight before we're finished. I mean, on the data side, I think a little bit tighter integration with the staff in the departments that have the themes. So, our HSA group, I work with Open Data Committee and ask for volunteers, subject matter experts, and folks to volunteer problems or issues that they would like to see solved in a hackathon, and sort of that was pretty loose. And one thing I would like to do next time is to sort of get a more of a commitment from individuals who work with the data to participate in the hackathon, to be a subject matter expert, and to be a guide, both in terms of data collection and publishing, but also in terms of the day of the event, because I can only know so much about every single data set in the Open Data Portal. So a tighter integration, I think, on the theme would be something that I might do differently.
Okay. Yeah, we had another question on kind of picking the theme. Is there any recommendations you guys would have? I mean, it sounds like you guys align closely to a theme that already existed, but any best practices you might recommend to those people listening?
Yeah, like the goals. I mean, I would encourage setting priorities right, around the goals and what you're trying to get out of the event, out of the hackathon. And if you can align it to, strategic initiatives that you've already got, or like major priority goals from your governing boards, right, your boards, your councils, your county city managers, then you'll get the different levels of engagement in the organization, and access to data that you might not get if you had a very scattered sense of priorities going into the session.
Yeah, and I think that is a easier pitch to the people at the top, to say, you're already engaged, you're trying to solve these problems, can a hackathon play a part in that, rather than this is a separate effort that we want to try and see what happens. If the community engagement piece, the ideas piece, the actual applications or solutions that come out of the event can play a role in solving these issues, or at least bring out some new ideas, then there's probably a better chance that you'll be able to do it again.
Right. And as government, we need to be able to be open-minded around solutions that can come from anywhere. And we recognize that not everybody wants to come work for government. We might have different values or different goals than other people, but we have to stay open to getting ideas from, especially our residents, our talented residents in the community.
Okay, and then we had one last question. What are examples of the types of data that are useful to participants? Maybe if you can talk a little bit about kind of the data sets that you guys pick based on your themes, if that's possible.
Sure. So there's a bright line between summary data and transactional data. Given the themes that we're working with, there's a lot more summary data. So we can't publish data about individual foster youth as much as we would like to do that. That's not legal and isn't valuable. But we can publish aggregate data, demographic data about foster youth, the types of services that we're providing to them, how long they're in the system, that kind of thing. So the same thing is true for homeless services to the homeless. But there's there's the privacy issues and that kind of stuff around the specific themes that we chose. So a lot of the data that we're getting for the third grade reading and education for ages 0 to 8 actually comes from the state, since our Department of Education, our Office of Education, is somewhat separate from the county. We have a good relationship, but that data is reported other places. So it's a little bit of doing some research and finding out what data is available, and then trying to keep in mind the difference between data that you would use to create analysis, like an infographic, versus data that you would want to use in an application. So spatial data, or the location of places, is something that is easily integrated into an app. People always want to know where they need to go to get services, so that's a huge area of emphasis for us as well. And so thinking about, even if you're not a programmer, what information would you want to be able to bring together to help someone connect with the service that they need, or help someone to discover a service that they don't know that they can utilize?
Well, we're a little bit over actually our time, so I did want to thank you all for spending the time with us today. We had a very active audience, as well as want to thank everyone for passing along great information today. And I hope you guys have the great rest of your day. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.